Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let me show you some examples of how you can use text replacements on your Mac. So text replacements are a feature on your Mac where you can type a series of characters and they're replaced with other characters automatically. It works in just about any place where you type text. For instance, one text replacement that's on your Mac by default is to replace the letters OMW with On My Way. You can see the replacement appear there as an autocorrect. So all you need to do to use this is press the spacebar, return, or any punctuation mark to indicate that you're done with that sequence of characters, and it replaces it with what's below. So if I were to type space, you can see how it replaced OMW with On My Way and an exclamation point after it. These are completely customizable. You find them in System Settings and then go to Keyboard. There's a button there called Text Replacements. Click on that, and now you'll see a list here of the initial trigger to replace and what to replace it with. For instance, here is OMW and On My Way. You can add new ones with the plus button, select and remove these with the minus if they're getting in the way, and you can edit either side of this by selecting it first and then doing a single click after it's selected. Wait about a second and you see now you can edit either one of these. So one thing you can use this for are simple little phrases like On My Way. You can create your own. For instance, if I click plus here and I use BRB, I can have it replaced with Be Right Back. I can add an exclamation point if I want, or a period, whatever I like. And then I can click Add here. And you can see how it adds this custom new one. If I then go back to an app where I'm typing like messages, I can type BRB, and you can see how it shows that it'll replace it there. And if I use space or return or some other piece of punctuation, it replaces it. Now you want to be very careful when picking the replacement trigger to use something you would not normally type. In fact, sometimes you want to make it completely impossible to accidentally trigger one of these by using special characters. Like you may sometimes want to do BRB because people recognize that as Be Right Back. But if you're messaging somebody that doesn't know this, then you might want to use the replacement. So what you could do here is instead of BRB, put an exclamation point before the text. Now, in order to trigger this, you can't just type BRB. You have to type this entire thing. So for instance, here I could go BRB and it's fine. But if I do exclamation point BRB, then it does the replacement. And you can see how I'm never going to accidentally type that. You could choose whatever you want. You could put a dash here or a semicolon or whatever you like, something easy for you to remember to use as special characters to start a trigger. If you find these videos valuable, consider joining the more than 2,000 others that support MACMOST at Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You can read about it at macmost.com/Patreon. Now, sometimes we have things that we type that aren't exactly natural, like sometimes typing a long email address. Maybe not yours, but maybe the email address for customer service for your company, for example. You could use those as text replacements as well. So, for instance, I can do CS email for customer service email, and I can replace that with customer-service@example.com, like that. So now when I add this, I could be typing in a document or in an email message like this and just type CS email, and you can see how it replaces it with that harder to type email address. You could do the same thing with a physical address. So for instance, I can do COADDR for a company address, and I can replace it with a full address. So you can see how I've typed this long thing here. It won't even fit in this field, but I can still use my pointer to move around, arrow keys to go back and forth. And then when I add it, I can see it there. I can go back in and edit it. And note, you can actually have new lines in here. One way to do it is to simply hold the Option key and press Return. Do that everywhere you want a new line, like that. So now I'll use the up arrow and I can see I've got several lines of text here. Another way to do it that might be much easier is to just open up a plain text edit document or type anywhere the information you want on multiple lines, and then copy it. And then in the width field here, just Command V to paste it. And you could see it's all there. And now when you type, you can see how it's going to replace it with those multiple lines like that. This is also handy for URLs. Like I'll do !MM and I'll type out the full URL to my site. Maybe your website's even longer than this, and it's just much easier to type those 3 characters. But say you have a really long URL and you often find yourself typing that whole thing out or finding it and copying and pasting it. You can copy a long URL like this one to a video that I commonly refer to, and I can paste that in here. So now I've got this really long URL here. Maybe I call this that. And now whenever I need to refer to that video, I can easily remember the short replacement phrase there. And now I get the whole URL. Now you may have noticed that some of the default examples that were there represent special characters. Like for instance, the copyright symbol. And it replaces left parenthesis C, right parenthesis with the copyright symbol. So that makes it really handy to type that. You can use your own Unicode characters here as well. So for instance, I'll use plus here. And let's say I want to do star. I could do something like this if I want. And now I want a Unicode character. I'm going to use the Emoji and Special Character Viewer, which I can trigger with FN and E, or the Control, Command, and Spacebar. And that brings this up. And I can search for characters. Let me search for star. And the one I want is this standard Unicode star here, like that. And I can add it. So now anytime I want to type star, I could do it pretty easily, like in this note here. Perhaps you're online and you come across something that looks like this, and you think that's really cute and you want to use it here and there. Putting it in a document, remembering where it is so you can copy and paste it, that's going to be too many steps. So instead, you just select this, copy from wherever you found it, maybe a web page, and then add it as a text replacement like this. And just paste it in here like that. And now anytime you want to use it, you can. The same thing is true of emoji. Notice when I brought up the special character viewer, all the emoji were there. So you can have something like this, and let's go and search for the pizza emoji, and you can put it right there. And now you can type that instead of having to search for the emoji each time. And think creatively when you're using this. For instance, you can use this for headings for documents or notes. Like let's say you've got meeting notes and you commonly use these circle characters here, and then things like meeting attendees, and that's always the green one, and the blue one is always progress from the previous meeting and all of that. You can add each of these individually as text replacements. And then you can have things like this to replace with these headings. So then all you need to do is type this, which is easy to type, and now you've got your heading, and just create a series of those to make it easier for you to take meeting notes or class notes or whatever. You can even do a little template like this. Select all of this text, copy it, and then add meeting template and paste all of those lines in. You can see they're all in here. So now you can just start off like that, return, and then go back and fill in between. Now, I personally like to use text replacements for longer things. Like for instance, maybe you respond to a lot of email messages with text like this. Well, instead of typing it each time or finding it somewhere and copying it and pasting it, you can copy it to a text replacement. So I'm going to call this, customer response like that, replace it with that by pasting it in. And now I can type this and easily insert this text. It could be a lot longer than this as well. For instance, here might be a long legal disclaimer that you sometimes need to put into email messages when you give advice or something like that. You can go to the disclaimer document you've got and copy and paste, but you can also copy and then paste it in to a text replacement. Like I'll call this legal, like that with an exclamation point in front. I'll paste this whole thing in and add it, and then I can easily add a disclaimer into an email message. Another place where we sometimes have to type a long thing is when typing in a browser address field. But text replacements work here as well. For instance, OMW, you could see paste on my way. But that's not really what you want here. What you want maybe is something like this, where you know you're going to do a question mark S equals, and that's a search. And then you would type the search term. And I'll add it as a text replacement. Let's do MMS and then replace it with this. So now I could do MMS, and it gets a little tricky because I can't press return here. It hasn't changed yet. So I want to do something like press space, but now I have an extra space there. So I want to press delete to go back. One thing I could do here is edit this and leave off the equals. So now I type MMS and then equals, and you could see how it properly expands it, adds the equals there, and then I could type what I want to get the right URL. But sometimes the space is fine. Like for instance, you might do site : and then wikipedia.org to say that you only want to search Wikipedia, and maybe even include some search terms there, and then just use this as the text replacement. So I'll add this one as W history for Wikipedia history, put this here like that, add, and now I can type W history space, and you can see how it inserts that there, and then return, and it saves me a little time. And one last way people use text replacements is sometimes as spell correction. Now, of course, autocorrect will work to correct your spelling, but there still are places where we mistakenly type a word and it's a correct word, but it's not the one we mean. So here's one example. You may never want to actually use this word, but find you sometimes accidentally type it. And in this case, it'll just replace it with this. It's like adding your own autocorrect. So now if I try to type that word, it will change it. Just like I've added a custom autocorrect to the dictionary. Notice that if I don't want it to replace, sometimes it still does. Even clicking here or using escape won't get you out of the change. But after I press space, a quick Command Z will revert the word, and now I can continue typing. So one final tip. To get to text replacements, you don't always have to go through the Apple menu to System Settings and find text replacements in Keyboard. You can use Spotlight, Command Space, and then search for text replacements like that. And then you'll find under System Settings category right here, a direct link to text replacements. And it opens System Settings and takes you right there. I hope this inspires you to use text replacements more in lots of different ways. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.